In this lecture, I am going to discuss about transportation problem. What is the transportation problem? How do we formulate transportation problem and its mathematical representation, and one or two more concepts. What is transportation problem? Consider an example. Suppose a manufacturing company manufactures its products at two places which are called origins, and it has to transport those products to its distribution centers which are called as destinations. Suppose the company has two origins, O1 and O2, and three destinations, D1, D2, D3. At origins, at first origin, available amounts A1 units. At second origin, available amounts A2 units. At first destination, required amount B1 units. At second destination, required amount B2 units. At third destination, required amount B3 units. Now, the aim of the company is to transport all these amounts to these three destinations with minimum transportation cost. Okay, so the aim of the problem is to transport the goods available at origins to destinations with minimum transportation cost. So the transportation problem is minimization problem by default. Okay, right. To formulate this, what we have to find? We have to find the number of units to be transported from different origins to different destinations. That means we have to find number of units from first origin to first destination, first origin to second destination, first origin to third destination. Similarly, from second origin to first destination, second origin to second destination, second origin to third destination. So these are the decision variables. So let xij be the number of units from origin I to destination j. So here we have two suffixes. First suffix represent for origins, second suffix represent for destinations. So let xij be the number of units to be transported from origin I to destination j. Okay. So from first origin to first destination, x11 units. From first origin to second destination, x12 units. From first origin to third destination, x13 units. These are the decision variables for first origin. Similarly, from second origin to first destination, number of units x21. From second origin to second destination, number of units x22. From second origin to third destination, number of units x23. So these are the decision variables. How many decision variables we have? 3 plus 3, 6. Okay, right. And we will be given the transportation cost per 1 unit from different origins to different destinations. So let Cij be the shipping cost of 1 unit from origin I to destination j. Here also we have two suffixes. First suffix for origin, second suffix for destination. Okay. So from first origin to first destination, transportation cost per 1 unit is C11. From first origin to second destination, C12. First origin to third destination, C13. Similarly for second origin to first destination, C21. Second origin to second destination, C22. Second origin to third destination, C23. So C11, C12, C13 and so on. These will be given in the problem. And available amounts at origins also will be given. And required amounts at destinations will also be given in the problem. We have to find the amounts x11, x12, x13, x21, x22, x23. The number of units to be transported from different origins to different destinations. Okay. So these are the decision variables. Now, what are the conditions to satisfy? Okay, so based on these decision variables, we have to derive some conditions, restrictions. Observe at first origin, number of available units is A1. These whole units should be transported to different destinations. So here the condition is the sum of available amounts is equal to sum of required amounts. That is A1 plus A2 equal B1 plus B2 plus B3. This is the condition. That means the available amounts should be transported to all the destinations. Okay. So that means all available amounts have to transport. So this is the condition. So based on this condition, we develop the constraints. At first origin, available amount A1 units. Based on the decision variables, how many units are transported from first origin to different destinations. From first origin to first destination x11, first origin to second destination x12, first origin to third destination x13. So total number of units transported from first origin to different destinations is sum of these three, x11 plus x12 plus x13. But actually available amount at first origin is A1. So now what is the relation between these two? Since all available amounts is equal to all required amounts, so the relation between these two is equal. Okay, so x11 plus x12 plus x13 equal A1. Okay, right. Similarly for second origin. At second origin, available amounts A2 units. Based on the decision variables, number of units to be transported is x21 from second origin to first destination, second origin to second destination x22, second origin to third destination x23. So total number of units x21 plus x22 plus x23. This should be equal to A2. Okay. So these two are constraints or conditions corresponding to the origins. So these two constraints corresponding to origins. Okay. Similarly for destinations. At first destination, the required amount is B1 units. Based on the decision variables, how many units are transported to first destination from different origins. So based on the decision variables, from first origin to first destination x11 units, from second origin to first destination x21 units. So total units transported to first destination is x11 plus x21. So x11 plus x21. And the required amount is B1. So here also the relation is equality type. Since all available amounts equal all required amounts. Okay. Similarly for second destination. Total number of units transported to second destination from first origin x12, from second origin x22, sum of these x11 plus x22. This should be equal to required amount at second destination, that is B2. Similarly for third destination, x13 plus x23 equal required amount at third destination is B3. Okay. So we get equality type. So these three corresponding to the destinations. So these three constraints are corresponding to destinations. Okay. So total, these are the constraints to satisfy. Okay. Right. Now, what is the aim of the problem? The aim of the problem is to transport the amounts available at origins to destinations with minimum transportation cost. Okay. So, based on the decision variables, what is the total transportation cost? So, from first origin to first destination, the transportation cost per 1 unit is C11 units. So, the transportation cost for X11 number of units is C11 into X11. This is the total cost, transportation cost from first origin to first destination. Similarly, from first origin to second destination, cost per 1 unit is C12. Total number of units are X12. So cost is C12 X12. Similarly, from first origin to third destination, C13 X13. Similarly, from second origin to first destination, C21 X21. Second origin to second destination, C22 X2. Second origin to third destination, C23 X23. Okay. So total transportation cost is sum of all these terms. C11 X11 plus C12 X12 plus C13 X13 plus C21 X21 plus C22 X22 plus C23 X23. So this is total transportation cost. This should be minimized. So minimum Z equal to this expression. So this is the objective function. And what about the sign of the variables x11, x12, x13? All these are number of units, they should be greater than or equal to 0. all these variables are greater than or equal to 0. Okay, right. Now observe the problem. Here also we have three parts. One is objective function, which represents aim of the problem, and second is the number of constraints, that is conditions or restrictions to satisfy, and third one is non-negativity restrictions. Okay, right. Now observe the relations among the variables. The relations among the variables all are linear functions. All are linear. Okay, so it is also a class of linear programming problem. Since all the relations among the variables are linear, and it has three characteristics, that is objective function, set of constraints, and non-negativity restrictions. So it is a part of, or it is a special class of linear programming problem. Okay. So here observe this condition. Sum of available amounts equal sum of required amounts. So in this case, the problem is said to be balanced transportation problem. Otherwise, the problem is called as unbalanced transportation problem. First, you have to check whether the problem is balanced or unbalanced. Okay, right. This is a particular case. Suppose in general case, suppose there are m origins and n destinations. How do we write the mathematical formulation of transportation problem? So we write in sigma notations. Observe here. For two origins, we have two constraints. For three destinations, we have three constraints. So total constraints 2 plus 3. Number of origins plus number of destinations. 2 plus 3. And observe the variables, number of variables, x11, x12, x13, these three, x21, x22, x23, these three. So total 6. That is 2 into 3. That is number of origins into number of destinations. So total 6 variables. So 5 constraints, 6 variables. How do you write these 2 in sigma notation? So here observe here, first suffix is fixed. 1, 1, 1, here 1. Second suffix varies from 1 to 3. Okay. Similarly here, first suffix fixed 2, 2, 2, 2, and second suffix varies from 1 to 3. So these 2 constraints can be written in the sigma notation as first one, sigma x1j equal to a1 for j equal to 1, 2, 3. Since first suffix fixed, second suffix varies. Okay. Here also, first suffix fixed 2, second suffix varies from 1 to 3. So this can be written as sigma x2j equal to a2 for j equal to 1 to 3. Now combine these two, fix I. To write these two in sigma notation, fix I equal to 1, 2. Okay. So first constraint is sigma xij equal to ai. First suffix here 1, 1, 1, 1. First suffix here 2, 2, 2, 2. So sigma xij equal to ai. This varies from j equal to 1 to n. This is for all origins I equal to 1 to n so on m. Suppose there are m origins and n destinations. Okay. So this gives m constraints corresponding to m origins. Similarly, in the second part. In the second part, second suffix fixed 1, 1, here 1. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. So second suffix fixed. First suffix varies from 1 to 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. So we can write these 3 constraints as sigma. First suffix varies 1, 2. Okay. So sigma I equal to 1 to m. Suppose there are m origins. Sigma I equal to 1 to m. Xij equal to bj. Since here second suffix is fixed, here also we have second suffix 2, 2, 2. Okay. So sigma I equal to 1 to m, xij equal to bj. This is for destination. J equal to 1 to n so n. Since there are n destinations, this gives n constraints corresponding to n destinations. So these are the constraints. And what about objective function? So here first suffix fixed 1, 1, 1. Second suffix varies from 1 to 3. Here in this part, first suffix fixed 2, 2, 2. Second suffix varies from 1 to 3. So by combining this is the sum of products So we have to use two sigma notations. First suffix from I equal to 1 to m, second suffix from j equal to 1 to n, Cij into Xij. So this is the objective function in general case. So this is what is transportation problem and mathematical formulation of transportation problem. Okay, here observe some points. The condition for a transportation problem to have a feasible solution is sigma ai equal sigma bj. Already we have discussed, that is sum of available amounts equal sum of required amounts. If this condition satisfies, then only the problem has a feasible solution. Next, second, a feasible solution to a transportation problem is said to be a basic feasible solution if it contains exactly m plus n minus 1 strictly positive allocations. Positive allocations means the number of units to be transported from different origins to different destinations. Allocations means number of units. Okay. So there should be m plus n minus 1 strictly positive allocations. Then only the solution is said to be basic solution, basic feasible solution. Okay. Otherwise, the solution is degenerate. Otherwise means if there are less than m plus n minus 1 strictly positive allocations, then that solution is called as degenerate solution. A feasible solution which minimizes the transportation cost is called an optimal solution to the transportation problem. Okay, so we represent the problem in tabular form. So tabular representation, this is the tabular form. So rows represent origins O1, O2 and so on, OM. Columns represent destinations D1, D2 and so on, DN. Here we have available amounts. At first origin availability A1, at second origin availability A2 and so on. At mth origin availability AM. And columns represent destinations. These will be required amounts at destinations B1, B2 and so on, BM. In the table, here we take the unit transportation cost C11, C12, that is first origin to first destination, first origin to second destination, and so on, first origin to nth destination. And these are the amounts to be transported, X11, X12, and so on, X1n. Okay. So this is the tabular representation. So in the problem, we will be given these values, available quantities, these values, required quantities, and unit transportation cost, C1, C12, and so on, C1n, C21, C22, and so on, CM1, CM2, and so on. These values will be given. We have to find the amounts, X11, X12, and so on, X1n, X21, X22, and so on, X2n, like that. So this is the tabular representation of the problem. And these entries are called as cells. This is 1, 1 cell, first row, first column. This is 1, 2 cell, first row, second column. Okay. So these are called as cells in the transportation table. Okay. So this is tabular representation of the problem. Next. So we consider the another concept, loop. So we use this concept in the solution procedure. So what is loop? In the transportation table, an ordered set of 4 or more cells is said to form a loop. Cells means in the table the entries. For example, this is 1, 1 cell, first row, first column. This is 1, 2 cell, first row, second column. Okay. So these boxes are called as cells. So an ordered set of 4 or more cells is said to form a loop if it has to satisfy 3 conditions. First condition, any 2 adjacent cells in the ordered set lie either in the same row or in the same column. Second point, any 3 or more adjacent cells in the ordered set do not lie in the same row or in the same column. The first cell is same as the last cell in the ordered set. Okay. So we consider the example. So consider this tabular form. So I consider the ordered set of cells starting here. This is 1, 2 cell. From 1 to start at 1, 2 cell, move to 1, 4 cell, first row, fourth column, move to 1, 4 cell. From here, move to 3, 4 cell, third row, fourth column. From here, move to 3, 5 cell. From here, move to 5 5 cell, fifth row, fifth column. From here, move to 5 2 cell. From here, move to 1 2 cell. Okay. So I have started at 1 2 cell. Move in this direction. Okay. So how do you write this in the ordered set form? First 1 2 cell. From here to 1 4 cell. From here to here, that is 3 4 cell. From here to here, that is 3 5 cell. From here to here, that is 5 5 cell. From here to here, that is 5 2 cell. From here to here, 1 2 cell. Okay. So verify the three conditions. If you take any two adjacent cells, they should lie in either in same row or same column. Suppose if you take these two adjacent cells. So these two lie in the same row, that is third row. These two lie in the same row, that is third row. Suppose if you take these two adjacent cells, they lie in the same column, that is fifth column. They lie in the same column, fifth column. Okay. So if you take any two adjacent cells, they have to lie in the same row or in the same column. That is first condition. And take the second condition. If you take three adjacent cells, these are three adjacent cells, three or more adjacent cells. If you take these three adjacent cells, so these three adjacent cells do not lie in the same row or in the same column. So if you consider these three adjacent cells, these two lie in the same column, fourth column, and this lie in fifth column. Okay. If you take any three or more adjacent cells in the set, they do not lie in the same row or in the same column. And third one is starting point. Starting cell is same as ending cell. We have started at 1 2 and ended at 1 2. Okay. So all the three conditions are satisfied. So this set forms a loop, a closed loop. Consider another example here. I start from 2 1 cell, move to 2 3 cell. From here, move to 3 3 cell. From here to move to 3 5 cell. From here to move 5 5 cell. From here to move 5 4 cell. This is 5 4 cell. From here, move to 5 1 cell. From here, move to 2 1 cell. Okay. How do you write in the set notation? This is 2 1 cell. This is 2 3 cell. This is 3 3 cell. Next, this is 3 5 cell, 5 5 cell, 5 4, and 5 1 and 2 1. Okay. So observe this. If you take any two adjacent cells, they lie in the same row or in the same column. Suppose if you take these three adjacent cells, this is 1 2 3. These are the three adjacent cells. That is 5 5 cell, 5 4 cell, 5 1 cell. So these three are adjacent cells. They lie in the same row, that is fifth row. These three adjacent cells lie in the same row, that is fifth row. Okay, so that is second condition fails. So this set does not form a loop. Okay, so loop means an ordered set of cells satisfying the three conditions. First one is any two adjacent cells lie in the same row or in the same column. And any three or more adjacent cells do not lie in the same row or in the same column. And the first cell is same as last cell. Okay.